engage with me, please do. Welcome. I'm Kenny Golde, the creator of Debt Reduction Made Easy. I'm glad that you're here joining me today. I am live with you here today on Saturday morning, May 17th. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. I have a promise for you today. I attend a lot of webinars, and a lot of the webinars that I attend, they spend a lot of time not really delivering information. They sit and they talk about your problem and talk about your problem and talk about your problem. You spend a lot of time going, when are you going to teach me how to get out of my problem? So my promise to you, since you've taken the time to join me here today, is to deliver a lot of information to you about getting out of credit card debt. And I just want to thank you. I know that it's difficult sometimes to wake up and join an online webinar. You don't know what you're kind of in for. And certainly if you're somebody who's struggling with credit card debt, as I was, and so many of my clients are, and the people who attend these webinars are, it's tough to reach out and ask for help. So I congratulate you on reaching out to get the help that you need. And my promise to you is that you're going to get a lot of value out of your time here today. I'm going to start off with something that I believe is true in all situations, whether it's getting out of credit card debt or anything else, which is we always have two choices. Our two choices are we can keep doing what we've been doing, or we can try something new. And I know when it comes to credit card debt, doing what you've been doing for many people either means continuing to pay your minimum monthly payment, even if it's a struggle, even if making those credit card payments is challenging for your life and difficult to continue to pay your bills and get your life paid for with the income you have while servicing your credit card debt, or not making your payment if you've stopped and then you're dealing with collection calls and nothing's changing. For a lot of people, it's those situations that they want to change. So today we're going to talk about something new. We're going to talk about a way to get out of credit card debt that not a lot of people do or know about, that can eliminate your debt far more quickly than either of those roads and save a lot of money. In essence, I'm going to teach you secrets that your bank and your credit card lender and so-called debt relief agencies, I put it in quote because they don't offer a lot of relief. You're going to find out why today. Every secret they don't want you to know about getting out of credit card debt very, very quickly and saving a lot of money, because their goal is to have you keep making that minimum monthly payment forever, because that's how they make their profit. So they don't want you to know that there are alternative routes. And this letter here is one from one of my actual clients. I redacted names and specifics, but it's basically his settlement letter from a bank saying we're going to accept $9,000 on a $26,000 debt. And I'm going to show you lots more evidence today about how that works. Right up front, people ask, well, just about how much can I save? I like to say up to 65% off your total amount of debt. So just round numbers. If somebody has $100,000 in credit card debt, they're going to save about $65,000 and pay about $35,000, which is far less than paying the whole $100,000 plus interest over time. And I'm going to go into all the details for how that works for you. And I do have to give a little bit of a disclaimer up front. I am not a lawyer. I'm not a bankruptcy lawyer. Debt Reduction Made Easy is based on my personal experience. I'm going to tell you the story of how I got into debt during the 2008 market crash, and I had to find a way out, that the way I was doing it wasn't working. And since then, I've been teaching this to thousands of people and all of my client experiences and the research that I've done into banking and credit, but it is not intended to be a substitute for professional legal or financial advice. What I really want you to do is hear everything I'm going to share with you today, and then go take it to your bankruptcy attorney if you have one, or go take it to your accountant if you have one and say, hey, I did this webinar and Kenny Golde told me all this stuff. What do you think? And let them weigh back for you. I'm not trying to be an absolutist. I'm trying to share new information that I want you to vet with your professionals to get the best advice and help that you can. I also want to say all testimonials that you see in here are real. These are real people who have gone through my program and settled out their credit card debt and become my friends and done videos for me. But your results will vary because your debt situation is different and your banks are different and you are different. You will put different levels of activity into it. So I have to say that up front. Who is this for? Anyone struggling with credit card debt? Anyone looking for the fastest and cheapest way to get out of credit card debt? And if you're just kind of signing up today, hey, I saw an ad on Google or Facebook and I thought I'd click and see what's going on, just stay, learn, listen. At the end of it, I'm going to offer you a free gift, one of the elements of the Debt Reduction Made Easy program, just for being here with me. And also there's going to come a point towards the end of our talk today where I'm going to tell you about the Debt Reduction Made Easy program. And when it starts off, I'm going to quote you kind of like historical prices, but because you're here today, I'm going to package a discount for everybody. So stay through to find out just how inexpensively you can get into something that will help you save far more money than the program is going to be. And then I want to start off with my client, Jerry, who went through the program.
legitimate things happen, crises happen in people's lives, there's a road to follow to get your way out. And man, you provided a great roadmap for us, which was just tremendous.
What Jerry's saying is that life happens. People don't get in debt because they spend a ton more money than they make intentionally and know they're running up debt. People get in debt because they have a business model of life, and then something changes, and the business model of their life kind of turns upside down. Whether it's Jerry had a business that went upside down. I went through the 2008 market crash. 40 million people got laid off during COVID, and we're living on credit cards. Life happens, and it puts us in situations that we didn't expect. And when it does, there are ways to deal with those situations that we don't necessarily know. And this is one of them. Jerry and his wife had a business that turned upside down. They had $122,000 in credit card debt when it happened. They were able to reduce it to $24,000 and become debt free. So how did I become an expert on do-it-yourself debt reduction? I told you I'd share this story with you. So I'm a businessman, an entrepreneur outside of debt reduction. And I had a business partner who passed away late 2007 that left me with a lot of debt that I didn't expect. I was still running the business, intending to make money and pay off the debt. And then the 2008 market crash happened. Everything turned upside down. It was just super clear that it was not going to happen. I had well over $200,000 in personal debt. I was paying something like $3,600 a month in interest, not even principal, and not including my regular life that I had to pay for. I didn't have nearly enough savings to do that at a time where there was no work. My company had folded and I was hurtling towards bankruptcy and destitution, and I needed a way out. I thought I only had a few options. I thought one of my options was to just keep paying that $3,600 a month. And then while I was paying it, sort of pray that something was going to change, that the economy would turn around immediately, that I would win the lottery, that something would happen that would allow me to cover those monthly payments and more and pay off that debt and start my life again. Or run away, which at the time to me meant bankruptcy, go file bankruptcy. So I actually did go to a bankruptcy attorney. It was around 2008, 9 in California. And it was an interesting conversation. The first thing that my bankruptcy attorney told me, and I encourage you to confirm this in your own research around bankruptcy, is that bankruptcy does not eliminate debt, which was a surprise for me to hear, not being an expert. I just always heard the word bankruptcy out there, and I assumed that bankruptcy meant get rid of debt, but it doesn't. What bankruptcy, as my attorney explained it to me, really does is it kind of puts you into, and these are his words, financial receivership, which means you're just turning your financial life over to the court, and then the court determines how to dispense your assets among your creditors. And your creditors are going to take less than you owe them, which is exactly the same thing I'm going to be teaching you how to do today without filing bankruptcy. But in filing bankruptcy, you're giving the court permission to call up your creditors and say, you're going to take less than this person owes you. They're going to distribute your assets. And the bankruptcy court pretty much takes over your financial life. And there are costs and fees associated with that. Filing bankruptcy at the time in California cost like $2,500. I'm not sure what it is now or what it would be in your state, wherever you are. And hiring your bankruptcy attorney, their hourly fee, going to court. So there are costs and fees associated with going through bankruptcy, and it's an official court proceeding that has a record to it. And after explaining that to me, he said, since the court is just calling up your creditors and offering them less than you owe them to close out your account, you can also do that yourself. And at the time, my jaw hit the ground. I was like, I can what? I can call up my credit card companies and say, I don't have enough money to pay you, so will you take less? And he said yes. Now I know years later, there's all the debt relief agencies out there. We're going to talk about those, all the radio ads and television commercials and online advertising. The guy from Shark Tank bought one of them, and he's on Facebook and TikTok talking about how you can get out of credit card debt quickly. They do the same thing that I'm going to teach you. They just charge very, very high fees for it. And I'm going to teach you how to do it without paying their super high fees. So I started doing it on my own. I figured, why not? And I did very, very well. I just started calling up my banks and saying, this is my situation. The market crashed. My partner died. I'm in debt. My business isn't running. There's no way I am going to recover the money that was borrowed. What can I do? And started negotiating. This was a credit card balance of $76,000 that we closed out for $25,000, and another one for seven. Where's the total on that one? I don't see it. 7,400. I think it was a $22,000 account. This is a $25,000 account that we settled out for $9,300. So I got very good at it. I wound up eliminating all of my debt, well over $200,000 in debt in about a year and a half. And I wrote a book about it. And when I wrote the Do-It-Yourself Bailout, it started getting a lot of attention. And I was on web articles and podcasts and news programs and radio programs all over the country. This is on Spectrum News in Los Angeles just a couple of years ago. I loved this quote from CBS News here in Los Angeles.
Kenny Golde has written a book. It's called The Do-It-Yourself Bailout. And if you are being buried by those finance charges on all your credit cards, this book is a must read.
Which I felt so. And when the book came out and people started reading it, I started getting emails from people all over the country saying how it helped them. And these are real client emails that I've received over the years from people who just went through the steps of the program that I teach and had the same results.
Something I'm really learning is like, especially as a woman, it's okay to use your voice. It's okay to be able to say what you legitimately have in your bank account, and that you can try to settle this out in a way that is healthy for me, not healthy for the banks, but healthy for me. What will get me back on my feet? What can I actually afford? What can I actually do? And what I'm starting to realize is there's more leeway than you think. You have more power in this process. And just by that alone, I would recommend doing this if you're looking to get your power back away from money and these institutions that feel like they can kind of suppress your power, which is, I know that sounds kind of dramatic, but if you really think about it in your own life, what's your relationship to money? You're probably giving your power away to some institution.
So let's talk about what debt settlement actually is. Just on the surface level, debt settlement is negotiating a payment that's less than the total debt, which the bank or credit card company treats as full settlement of the debt, releasing the borrower future payment obligations, interest, or collections. It really does close your account and eliminate your debt for far less than you owe. As I said, bankruptcy is debt settlement. It's just the bank doing the debt settlement for you. And debt relief agencies, no matter what they call themselves, are debt settlement. It's just the agency doing the debt settlement for you. And both of those have costs and consequences and repercussions that when you do it yourself, you can avoid. I know you probably have questions. So, because I've been through this so many times, how much can I save? How long does it take? What happens to my credit score? We're going to cover all of those in order. You're going to get all of this information today. So let's talk about how much you can save. I'm not saying you have this much credit card debt. It's just a nice round number, so it makes it easy to see the percentages. So let's say somebody has $100,000 in credit card debt, and I don't want you to have to do these numbers yourself. So I just used a phone app calculator called Easy Calculator, and I just put in $100,000 in credit card debt at annual interest rate of 25%, which is pretty average right now. Some are even higher than that, 29, 32, 34%. And it told me that you're going to pay $2,600 per month on that debt, and that it's going to take 78 months, which is 6.5 years, to pay it off. If you're interested in knowing how long it's going to take you to pay off your credit card at the minimum monthly payment, your statement comes with that information right on the front of your credit card statement. Every month there'll be a little box that says if you make the minimum monthly payment, it will take you X years to pay off your debt and tell you how much interest you're going to pay. It's usually for a credit card about 25%, about double, usually about double. So for this person with $100,000 in debt, paying $2,600 a month, it's going to take them 6.5 years to pay it off. They're going to pay about $100,000 in interest. Here it is right here, $103,000 in interest. And they're going to wind up paying $200,000 on that $100,000 in debt over the next 6.5 years. When you go through do-it-yourself debt settlement, as I said, and I'll take you through why, my experience is that a 35% settlement amount, 65% off the total, is about the average. It's not like there's an industry rule or law that says 35%. It's more just like through my experience with hundreds of clients, people go through the negotiation process and they usually wind up around 35%, 38, 34, 41, 36 in about 6 to 18 months. That's become kind of the average that I've seen. I've seen people get lower. My lowest settlement was 22%. I had one client who got 10%. I've seen people get higher, 45, 55, but they do it a lot faster in 3 to 6 months. but 6 to 18 months, around 65% off, 35% settlement in do-it-yourself debt settlement. You're going to have a 0 monthly payment. As soon as you stop paying your credit card to start negotiations, whatever the monthly amount that you've been sending to your bank is now money that you are keeping for yourself. Instead of 6.5 years, 6 months to a year and a half, instead of $100,000 in interest, I put a small amount of interest because during the time that you're negotiating, they'll still charge interest for a couple of months. But once you get into charge off, then interest stops as well. So you're not going to pay that double amount in interest on your card. So for this person, instead of paying $200,000 on their $100,000 credit card in 6.5 years, they're going to pay about $35,000 on their $100,000 credit card, and they're going to save $65,000 in the principal balance and $100,000 in future interest. So whatever your amount of credit card debt is, you can start kind of doing those numbers in your head and see, how much am I going to save off my principal? I'm going to save 65%. About how much in interest I'm going to save? About the entire amount again. And here's the thing. If you ever want to stop, you can. If you're in the middle of negotiations with your bank for a settlement and you decide, you know what, I don't like doing this, you can just start making monthly payments again and they'll keep taking your interest every month. If you do have a windfall, if you win the lottery or work turns around or your company kicks off again, you get a new job, whatever it is, you're like, hey, I do want to pay off this credit card now that I can, you just start making payments again. Or if nothing works and you find that you need to file bankruptcy, you can still file bankruptcy. Those options are still there. Pay or run away is still there, even while you're trying to do something different. So in my case, and what I found for my clients over the years, is that there's really nothing to lose. There's very little downside to going through debt settlement. Somebody might even say, well, there's some downside to my credit score. Yes, your credit score is going to be affected if you file bankruptcy. Also, your credit score is going to be affected if you stop making your payments and don't try to negotiate. The only thing that's not going to affect your credit score is continuing to make payments every month. But if you're still struggling financially, there's still a consequence to that. We're going to talk about credit scores in detail. I went through that journey alone. In 2008, there were no debt relief agencies that I could find. I did a Google search. There was no article, no website, no blog. There was nothing on debt settlement at that time. I had to start calling my banks by myself and learning from them. And I have taken all of that information so that you don't have to go through it alone. I really want to stress this. When people get into debt, we have this emotional feeling that, oh my God, I did something wrong. Something bad's happened to me. We feel a little bit of shame or guilt or fear or pain or anxiety around it. And it causes us to not share it, maybe with our family or friends or spouses. We kind of hold it in. We feel like we did something wrong. How could I get here? And we feel isolated. I really want to stress, you are not alone. Wherever you are in debt, whatever your situation is, you're not alone. This survey from a couple of years ago indicated that 49% of Americans depend on credit cards to cover their basic living expenses. That's 1 out of 2 people. That's not just the wealthy or just the super poor. That's 1 out of 2 people covering their rent and their utilities and gas and food on credit cards, which is not what credit cards were originally intended for. Credit cards were originally intended for the convenience. I'm out to dinner and I don't want to pay with cash, so I'll pay with a credit card and I'll pay it off tomorrow. It was convenience. And then those early card commercials started to come out saying, hey, maybe there is a once in a lifetime luxury thing. You remember the priceless commercials from MasterCard? Maybe you saw them. You know, my cousin's wedding in Australia. I can't really afford it, but I'll put it on my credit card and pay it off over time. So they were kind of sold as a get that luxury thing that otherwise you wouldn't be able to do, that once in a lifetime experience. They were never intended to cover our basic living expenses because we couldn't afford them. And 1 out of 2 Americans are doing that. It means nobody's alone. This one's from COVID. 75% of Americans missed credit card payments during COVID just a few years ago. That's 3 out of 4 people going through a universal experience that caused them all to go into default on their credit card. So when people think, oh my God, how did this happen to me? How am I in this situation? A half to 3/4 of Americans are in the same situation. National credit card debt went up from about $800 billion in 2017 to over $1.2 trillion now. That's a 50% increase in the amount of debt Americans are carrying in the last less than a decade, meaning many people are using credit cards and getting into difficult situations and not finding a way out. And what Debt Reduction Made Easy does is provide you the way out. Here's my client, Mark.
I pulled out all these little fragments of here of, techniques that they're going to use against you. And I wrote down these tiers of they're gonna be nice, they're gonna be friendly, they're gonna get emotional, they're gonna threaten you, all these things, so that when it was happening, I had it right on a piece of paper in front of me on my desk. And I was like, oh, that's where they are right now. And I didn't get like blindsided by it. So I had a lot of, I'll say, administration sort of backing me up, spreadsheets, scripts, all my sort of my anchor datums that I would like rivet in, and kind of built myself a platform on how to really move forward.
So that's really what I provide, is I call it a light on a dark tunnel. People go into debt and they really don't know what it looks like. And when you're in the dark, it's scary. If you've ever been to a haunted house, you're walking through a room, you hear that little sound, see that little shadow move, it's scary. Then someone turns on the lights and that little sound is just someone scratching a bottle with a fork, and the shadow is just something hanging from the wall, and it's not scary anymore. What Debt Reduction Made Easy does is it shines a light on that dark tunnel. It tells you everything that you're going to experience so that when you experience, you're ready for it, you're prepared for it. I get so many emails that say, it happened just the way you said it did, which it always does. So I want to talk about the 3 reasons that people stay in debt forever. One is they're emotional about their debt. People carry emotions about their debt. And rather than their finances being the thing that's keeping them in debt, they think it's their finances. It's really the emotion that they're feeling around it that's kind of locking them into not being able to change anything. They're worried about their credit score. We're going to talk about lots of different effects on your credit score. Or they just don't know that this possibility exists, the possibility of debt settlement, or maybe they've heard about it and they just don't think they can do it because they don't have the information. By the time we overcome your emotions and show you how your credit scores can work differently for you and teach you the steps of debt settlement, you're going to have the knowledge that allows you to go into a process that otherwise would be scary and daunting, that you can go into with courage and confidence. Let's talk about the emotions. So I don't want to label you with any particular emotions, but these are the emotions that I felt and that I've heard from so many people over the years. There's fear of being judged by friends or family or colleagues. Sometimes there's a college student who's afraid to tell their parents that they got into debt, or an elderly parent who's afraid to tell their kids that they got into debt, or we don't tell our spouses. Husbands don't tell their wives. Wives don't tell their husbands. We don't tell our friends or the people we work with. We're kind of afraid that people will judge us for being in a difficult financial situation. With that can come some shame. How do they get there? Some self-blame and guilt and embarrassment. We feel like we lack confidence. How am I going to talk to a debt collector? These are professional people. I don't have any experience. It seems a little daunting and scary. There's insecurity and anxiety. It's all of these emotions that live inside us around our finances that make financial difficulty even worse than the financial difficulty itself. Yes, maybe you make X dollars a month and you have X dollars in expenses and X dollars in credit card debt, and the amount you're making isn't covering your expenses and your credit card debt, but it's not just that math that causes people to suffer. It's the shame and guilt and fear and embarrassment and anxiety and insecurity that causes the suffering while we're going through it. And then this is what happens. If you get on the phone with a debt collector, that debt collector is treating your debt like a business. It is their business. I learned this very, very well when I had 6 or 7 different credit cards in default at the same time, and I'd get several credit card or collection agent calls a day. And I started to notice that they all were on the same script. All of these different collection agents at different banks were asking the same questions and they had the same responses. I realized they all hired outside consultants to script collection calls for their collection agents. And they were so similar, it seemed like they'd all hired the same outside consultant. They were treating my debt like a business. But if one side of a negotiation is treating it like a business and the other side of negotiating is treating it like an emotional imperative, the side treating it like a business is going to win because the person on the other end isn't really negotiating to get out of debt. They're negotiating to get out of the suffering emotions. People think that when I'm out of debt, I will no longer be suffering from the painful emotions of debt. And it's the desire to get out of the painful emotions of debt that's motivating them. And that puts them at a disadvantage in the negotiations. Your bank, on the other hand, does not have any emotion in the situation. They're only following the numbers and the law. What is legal and what is the math? That is their only motivation in the negotiation. And it puts them at advantage over somebody who's looking to get out of painful emotions. So here's the solution to people being emotional about their debt is for you to also treat your debt like a business, to look at your personal financial situation and say, I am the CEO of the corporation of me. My life is a business and I am in charge of that business. And I have a fiduciary responsibility to myself. And if you have a family, to your family, to treat this like a business, to get out of debt as quickly as possible and save as much money, because your bank's job is to keep you in debt as long as possible and make as much money from them. That is their stated business model, to keep you in debt as long as possible to them and charge you as much interest as possible over time. Your stated business model will be to get out of debt as quickly as possible and save as much money over time. And as long as you are doing that legally and without emotion, you can be very, very successful at it. And I just want to always show people that that is why laws exist for people who are in debt. Bankruptcy laws exist. They were created in order to help people who got into debt. So they didn't just, as England used to do, throw them into debtor's prison. When you're in debt, when you're not paying your credit card, you get this statement. This is California. It starts off saying the state's Fair Debt Collection Act is in California. But a little further on there, you'll see the Federal Fair Debt Collection Practices Act. That is a federal law, a national law that applies to debt collection in all 50 states that governs how debt collectors can do business and what they are and are not allowed to do when trying to collect a debt from you and what your rights are. There are legal provisions in place that make debt settlement legal, yet for many, many historical, emotional reasons, individuals who borrow think they can't take advantage of these things because of the shame and fear and guilt and emotion. We have emotional identity attached to our finances that causes us to not pursue the best business options for ourselves. And a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is to say, since your bank is treating your debt like a business, you must also treat your debt like a business. And when you do, you can succeed in reducing or eliminating your debt very quickly. Rick went through a divorce, left him with a lot of money, had 2 little kids to raise, couldn't put money into his credit cards because he had to put money into his children. Settled $18,000 debt for $3,500. Thomas reduced a $47,000 debt to $12,000. Rob reduced a $150,000 debt to $33,000 spread out over a few different cards there. So that's when we're talking about being emotional. Treating your debt like a business allows you to succeed in reducing your financial obligations the way a business owner would. Now I want to talk about credit scores. Number 2 reason people stay in debt forever is they're worried about their credit score going down. People are so terrified about their credit scores going down. Why are people so terrified about their credit scores going down? Because we are programmed to be terrified about our credit scores going down. If you start to think about it, most people have been educated to have an emotional identity attachment to their credit score, almost on the level of a high credit score makes me a good person and a low credit score makes me a bad person. And the lending industry has reinforced that myth. I don't know if you were around at the time, but when those credit reporting websites like freecreditreport.com first started to come out about 20 years ago, there was a commercial of a band playing at the Renaissance Fair, and they literally sang a song that said, if your credit score is low, you are going to wind up working at the Renaissance Fair, living in your parents' basement, and no one will love you. That is the message that this site was sending if your credit score gets low, meaning a bank does not have the legal right to reach into you and draw money out of you. If you are in debt to them and unable to pay back that debt, they must go through a process where you at some point willingly send them that money, unless they file a lawsuit against you and get a court order to take it from you. But that's a long, long process. We'll talk about in a little bit of detail. Before that, the thing that they want to do without going through that process is have you emotionally want to send them the monthly payment and full interest every month. And the way to get you to emotionally want to do that is by telling you that if you don't do it, your credit score is going to go down. If your credit score goes down, you're going to be a bad person. This was another commercial from another credit reporting agency. I can't believe this imagery. You've got 2 Superman standing guys with their Superman arms out with their high credit scores. They're tall and muscular and buff. And the guy with the 583 credit score is literally short, dumpy, bald, and he has a horror movie villain's mask on. The emotional imagery to men and to their spouses and people around them is if you are in debt and you have a low credit score, that is you. That is how you see yourself. That is how people see you. And people see that in commercial and they go, I better go keep making my credit card payment because if I don't, it's going to make me see myself like that. And it's going to make other people see me like that. That is the programming that the lending industry does on purpose to have people emotionally attached to keeping their credit score high so that they will keep making their minimum monthly payment at interest no matter how much difficulty it's causing their life. So this is the solution to number two, that your credit score is a tool that has more than one use. The one use that most people connect with when it comes to their credit score is that it gives you access to more credit at a lower interest rate. If you have an 800 credit score, you can get more credit cards with higher limits on them at a lower interest rate. If you want to go buy a car, you're going to get a lower interest rate because you have a higher credit score. Use number one, the most common use of a credit score, is to give you access to more credit at a lower interest rate. But if you're not using it for that, if you're not looking to buy a house or looking to buy a car or take out a business loan or a student loan or get more credit cards at the time, if you're not looking to use your credit score for that purpose, which I find most people who are struggling with credit cards to the point where they're coming to me are not out looking to gain more credit and more loan ability at that point, you can use it in a different way to save you even more money than it will save you by getting you that lower interest rate. I mean, that's the ultimate goal of having more credit at a lower interest rate, is that that lower interest rate will save you money. But if you can save even more money using your tool in a different way, people tend not to think about that. So let's go back to this example of someone with that $100,000 in credit card debt, paying $2,600 a month. It's going to take 6.5 years to pay off. They're going to pay $100,000 in interest and over $200,000 total. And at the end of those 6.5 years, when they've gone through all of the struggles of trying to meet those minimum monthly payments every month for 6.5 years and all the sacrifices that they're making in their life along the way to do that, they will still have an 800 credit score or thereabouts and maybe feel good in that moment. Hey, I paid off my debt and I feel good. I've satisfied my emotional attachment to paying off my debt and my credit score. Great. And then there's the person who said, no, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to settle out my credit card for about $35,000, have no monthly payments for those 6.5 years. So that $2,600 a month goes back into my pocket. I'm going to do it in a year to a year and a half instead of 6.5 years. I'll be 100% debt free, pay a little bit of interest along the way. I'll save $165,000 in principal and total interest along the way. And at the end of that year and a half, I'm going to have a 500 credit score, but I'm going to be debt free and stress-free. So it's like a balancing act. Keep my credit score high, 6.5 years, pay $200,000, struggle and stress the whole time. Let my credit score fall, pay $35,000, eliminate my monthly payments, my stress, my credit, my payments, being able to put that money back into my life, low credit score. And then they say, let's say I want to buy a car. Okay, I ran the comparison. If you're taking out a $25,000 car loan, 60-month loan, you have an 800 credit score there on the left, you get about a 5% interest rate. I'm not arguing right now what interest rates are. Sometimes they're up, down. I don't change the cards every time interest rates go up and down. I'm just showing the difference between the type of interest rate you might get with a high credit score and the type of interest rate you might get with a low credit score. That there's a range there. So with a higher credit score, they might get a 5% interest rate, $25,000 loan. Over the course of that 60 months, 5 years, they're going to pay, you can see it in the middle here, $3,300 in interest, and the total car is going to cost them $28,000. And if they have a lower credit score, they might get a 9% interest rate. Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 11. This is for a comparison. $25,000 loan, same 60-month loan. Instead of a $471 a month payment, they're going to have a $518 a month payment. And at the end of those 5 years, they're going to pay $6,000 in interest instead of $3,300 in interest. And that total car loan is going to cost them $31,000 instead of $28,000. So for that same car loan, with a 800 credit score instead of a 500 credit score, this person's going to pay $3,000 more for their car over the course of 5 years and $50 more a month. But that person will have saved thousands or tens of $1,000s in credit card payments and interest. So I say, if you are the CEO of the corporation of you, and you are only looking at the numbers and saying, what is the best financial thing to do for my corporation and me and my family? Pay $165,000 in principal and interest and keep my credit score high, and 8 years later get a car and save $3,000, or save $165,000 in principal and interest, let my credit score fall, and a year and a half later buy a car and pay an extra $3,000. What would the CEO of a corporation do facing those numbers? I am not here to guide you into an answer. These are not rhetorical questions. I am here to help you think about what is a way to get out of credit card debt that might be more beneficial for me than I have previously considered, and then allow you to make an informed choice for yourself. Your credit score is a tool. Some people will then ask, well, what if I want to buy a house? Do the numbers hold up? I don't take you through those numbers in this webinar as well, but it's the same. You would run the numbers like any CEO of a corporation would do. If you only had $10,000 in credit card debt and you're looking at saving $6,500, but you want to buy a house, I'd say it's probably not good. I had over $200,000 in credit card debt that in 10 years was going to cost me $500,000 in principal and interest. For me, settling it meant even if I wanted to buy a house, which I did a couple of years later, I would still save more money settling out my credit cards now and having that money to be able to save for a down payment on a house than I spent in having a higher interest rate on that house. But you just have to run the numbers. Stephen eliminated $50,000 in credit card debt. This couple saved $120,000. Mark talks again about the process.
Go through your book, and yeah, there's certain things that I have, highlighted in here and starred and notes on them and stuff, because I didn't have enough stability to know what I could do and what was possible. And without knowing the what was possible, I would have compromised on something a lot less.
So back to the top 3 reasons people stay in debt forever. They're emotional about their debt. We talked about treating your debt like you're the CEO of the corporation of you, letting go of those emotions. They're worried about their credit score going down. We talked about if you are the CEO of the corporation of you, what is the best fiduciary financial choice to make in using your credit score as a tool that you may not have thought of. And then number 3 is they don't know about debt settlement, or they think they can't negotiate debt on themselves. So they then waste thousands of dollars paying an agency to do it for them. So let's talk about what a debt settlement agency is. I'm sure you've seen their commercials. They're all over TikTok and Facebook. You see them on news, you hear radio commercials. They come on and they say things like, there are secret government programs that banks and credit card companies don't want you to know about. They are literally touting the secrets. But instead of coming to you like me saying, I'm going to teach you those secrets so you can do it on your own, they're coming to you saying, you can't know those secrets. We know those secrets. And you need to pay us to go do this for you. And they make it sound like they have some special relationship with debt settlement agencies or special relationship with the government that makes you need them. You don't. They say things like, see if you qualify. This is even an image from one of their websites that said, see if you qualify. I'm telling you, the only thing that you have to qualify for is being enough in debt so that they will make enough money off you to take you on as a client. There are no secret government programs. There are no secret government programs. Any commercial you hear about them, they are not true. It is literally a straight up lie. There are some housing programs for people struggling with their mortgage to get into mortgage payments, but there is no program where the government comes in and says, we're going to help you pay off your credit card debt. It doesn't exist. If you are struggling with credit card debt, you qualify to go negotiate a settlement with your bank directly. If you want to eliminate your credit card debt, you qualify to call up your bank and say, I can't pay this debt off the way I had originally intended to, and settle out with them. If you want to be free of the negative emotions of debt, you qualify. Agencies want you to think that they have access to something that you don't have and make it sound special to literally scare you into doing something that is not in your best interest, because their business model, bank's business model, is keep you paying interest as long as possible. Debt settlement agency's business model is to make as much money off you as possible in the shortest amount of time. So let's talk about agencies. If you've never called up one of these agencies to see how they actually work, I'm going to tell you how they actually work. They take about a 20, you'll see on their ads, 15 to 25%. If you have less debt, they take a higher percentage. If you have more debt, they take a little lower percentage. So I'm just going to use the average. 20% fee off your total debt. They take it off your total debt, which means if you have $100,000 in debt that they settle for you, their fee is $20,000. I personally think this is a conflict of interest. I could see an agency saying, we'll take 20% of the amount we save for you. So if we only save you $20,000, we get $4,000. But if we save you $50,000, we get $10,000. That would actually motivate them to go save you more money. But because they get a 20% fee off your total debt, they are motivated to close your account as quickly as possible and not save you the most money as possible because they make the same amount of money whether they settle your account for 20% or 50%. And if they can get a 20% settlement sooner, they will, and they will take the same fee. Again, I don't want you to take my word for it. This is an actual clip of an actual debt settlement agency's online disclaimer at the bottom that says clients who make their monthly program payments save approximately 40 or 50% of their enrolled debt, which means they're settling at 60% or 50%, saving 40% or 50%. They say an average savings of 43%. I'm saying an average savings of 65%. Upon successful completion before program fees. Fees are based on a percentage of your debt, range from 14 to 25% of your enrolled debt. So this is them actually saying how much they're going to charge you. This one says you're going to save about 46% off your total debt. We're going to charge you 25%. And when we're done, that will be your total savings. 25% total savings, including our fees, which means if you have $100,000 in debt, you're paying $75,000 to settle out your $100,000 in debt by the time the agency settles for you for around 50% and they charge you another 25%. Banks will usually settle for about 50% in about 3 months. This is not a hard, fast rule. It's just what I've seen so much over time. Somebody calls up, says, I can't pay. They started about a 90% offer. They come down to about 85. Sometimes they start off saying, we don't settle at all. They make it hard for you for a couple months. All that's covered in Debt Reduction Made Easy. But in 3, maybe 4 or 5 months, they'll come down to about 60, 55, 50%, which is what the agencies are telling you. And the agency is going to encourage you to take that because they're going to be able to settle your account, close it out as quickly as possible, and make their full fee off your total debt. They'll tell you that's what to expect. They'll get it from you for you, and they'll tell you to take it. So again, I just like running the numbers. Again, I'm not saying you have $100,000 in debt. They're just easy numbers for percentages. For somebody who had $100,000 in debt and the bank gets them 50% off, I'm actually being gratuitous to them. They're saying 43 or 46% off. I'm saying they get you 50% off. So you pay 50% to the bank, and then you pay $20,000 to the agency. Your total payment is $70,000 on that $100,000. You've saved $30,000 in principal in about 3 to 6 months. As the CEO of the corporation of you, your best interest is served by being patient and taking longer and saving more money for yourself and your family. So that $100,000 debt can get settled for about 35%, which means you pay $35,000 to the bank and no money to an agency, which means your total payment is $35,000 in 6 to 18 months. You take longer for yourself because they don't want to take that long, and you wind up saving twice as much money doing it yourself than having an agency do it for you. Agencies don't want you to do this. They want to put out ads saying you can't do this yourself. They want to scare you. When you get an offer, they'll say, I think you should take it. It might not be on the table for much longer. You're going to go into charge off. You're going to lose it. It'll be a new collection agent. They will try to get you to take that 50% that they told you to expect and charge you their 15 to 25% fee. Close your account and move on. And I am going to teach you through shining a light on that dark tunnel how to do much better for yourself. Here's Nicole again.
You just gave me so much more confidence. Like, you just gave me a peace of mind, realized that this is a strategy.
So now I want to start talking about the strategy. If the solution to number 3, which is the number 3 problem people stay in debt forever, is that they just don't know about debt settlement. The solution is to learn about debt settlement, to learn everything you can know to do it yourself and go into that tunnel with the light on it so that you can potentially not have to file bankruptcy and turn your financial life over to the court to do for you exactly what I'm going to teach you how to do for yourself, or not have to hire an agency to pay them way more money than you need to do the same thing for you that I'm going to teach you how to do for yourself. And I know what you may be thinking. You may be thinking, I don't know how to negotiate. I'm not a negotiator. These are professional negotiators. I'm going to teach you. You heard Mark talk about how I gave him actual scripts. I provide the actual scripts and I give you the guidance on how to negotiate. You may be saying, I don't have enough money to make a settlement. I can see someone with that $100,000 in debt saying, I don't have $35,000 to send to the bank. The whole course has numerous strategies on how to accumulate what I call your debt settlement fund over time. Remember, I'm giving somebody 6 to 18 months to reach their debt settlement. So there's a whole process of accounting in the program where you go through your finances and you say, if I'm not making my monthly payment anymore, how can I adjust my finances to save my settlement fund over time? I take you through numerous ways that there are probably places in your life where you can save that money right now that you're just not looking at, which have worked for many, many of my clients. You may be thinking, I heard you can get sued. You can. I got sued twice, and I will tell you, I still settled out both accounts before I ever went to court. In fact, out of my hundreds of clients, nobody has ever gone to court because I'm not teaching the runaway method. I'm not teaching people to ignore collection agents' calls until they wind up in court and have a judgment against them. I'm teaching people how to negotiate settlements on their debt even after they get sued and before they go to court. And I teach that whole process. Will this work if I'm married? Yes. I've had numerous married couples. They take out cards together, or one take out the card or the other takes out the card, or one takes out the card and co-signs it for the other. It works in a union. Will this work for business debt? So with the exception of an actual corporation, not like you incorporated yourself, but an actual company, like, somebody on the stock exchange, taking out a loan as a company, that's a slightly different thing. This process is different for them. They're going to work that out with their banker directly. Most people who have their own personal business, who take out a business credit card for their own business, that business credit card is really a personal credit card. It has their business name on it, but in the loan agreement is a personal guarantee that says if your business ever goes under, we're still coming after you personally for this debt. So if you happen to be a business owner who took out a business credit card and you have debt that was taken out under your business credit card, but your credit card loan had a personal guarantee, the bank doesn't see it as a business credit card. You could close that corporation and file its bankruptcy, and they're still going to come after you personally, which means it's personal debt, which means this process works. Will it work with my particular bank? In my experience, every bank that I or all of my readers, clients, and customers have ever used has gone through this process. I put in the caveat of, I know I haven't dealt with every bank. There are thousands and thousands of regional banks and small banks. I have not experienced every one of them. Might there be a bank out there who says, we're not going to do this? It's possible. I don't know. Every major bank that you can think of, I have worked with, or my clients have worked with directly, and they have all gone through this process. Even the ones that start off saying, we don't do this, have eventually gotten to the point where they do it. It's just part of their business model to say, we don't do this, and hope their customer just keeps making their payment. And we don't do this and hope they keep making their payment. And when they realize that they can't make the payment, then they do it. So the caveat of, I'm not sure, maybe, but for the most part, every bank I've seen has done it. Everything you can think of in this process is going to be in the course. Here's Jerry
As soon
again.
as you stop making the payments, then the phone calls start. You get a letter, started getting the letters first from the actual creditors. And then later when they flipped them over to a collection agency, without your book and information, I wouldn't have known how to deal with them. What terminology to use, what things to ask for, what actions to take. So that book was so practical, and it, it just gave me the tools.
So the tools are in there. I really want to stress this. I really want to help you. I've been in this business for 15 years. I'm going to put Nicole back on in a minute. She's going to say it's a labor of love. I know that people who are in debt are not out paying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to learn how to get out of debt. I don't understand why they're paying all that money to agencies to do it for them. I'm not charging anywhere near that. I do this because I really love helping people reclaim their lives. And with your permission, I'm going to take a few more minutes to show you exactly how the course can do that for you.
He has this beautiful course. First, I have to tell you how grateful I am for that course. So he has this beautiful video course but it kind of walks you through it. And Kenny, you're great on camera. The way that you encourage, it's practical. It also speaks to emotional and mental health. I found it extremely complete. Like, it was really comprehensive.
So the course it's a video course. There are numerous modules, many, many videos. It's me on camera. You can see I'm even wearing the same glasses. Hopefully in whatever experience you've had with me on camera with you today, this is my personality. This is how I talk. This is the care that I put into it. This is the information that I put into it. I'm just putting it all into this. So it's very much like one-on-one coaching sessions with me on camera, delivering you on a very high level, as I said to begin with, every secret that banks and debt settlement agencies don't want you to know about settling credit card debt for far less than the amount owed. What you're really going to get is a debt-free life. When you go through the process of negotiating a settlement with every one of your banks, you eliminate your credit card debt and you're debt-free. So that's more money that you can put towards living your life. And it also develops courage and confidence that transcends your finances. And this is really the most important thing that I put into my original book, The Do-It-Yourself Bailout, that when somebody files bankruptcy and turns their financial life over to the court, it doesn't help them deal with all of those emotions, all that pain and fear and stress and anxiety. You're just calling your lawyer all the time going, what's next? What's next? What's next? You're really still behind the 8 ball, giving control over to others. So you're not able to process the emotion of the finance. Same thing if you have an agency do it for you. So many people I work with say, oh, the agency was so frustrating because I was just calling them, asking them for updates and they didn't call back or there were no updates. You're not in control. When you go through the process yourself and you're in control and you know when you're talking to your creditors and you're working through your emotion, when you come to the other side and you're debt free and you've brought yourself through that, your relationship to money changes entirely and really adds to the potential for you to build a financially secure future that so many people who go through bankruptcy and debt settlement through agencies don't have. They just get back into the same trouble because they haven't processed the issues that got them into the financial trouble to begin with. But do-it-yourself debt settlement does. And again, I am going to take you through numbers now. But when you stay tuned, I don't want you to think that the numbers I take you through originally are what you're going to pay because I have that big discount because I know you're there. Well, I hope you're on the other side there right now hearing all of this and that there's going to be a real, my gratitude, thank you, in a package price to you for spending this time with me today. So when I started making the videos, I was sending them out to clients and I used to do one-to-one coaching. And then I started making the videos and I was offering the people individually. So it starts off with I go into detail about the ways to get out of debt, bankruptcy, agencies, consolidation. People talk about what is consolidation. Debt consolidation isn't debt settlement. Debt consolidation is just what I call long-term payoff. Long-term payoff is you're still paying your minimum monthly payment every month until you pay off your whole debt. Consolidation is just I have 6 or 7 different accounts. They're all at different interest rates. I'm going to go to a bank and get a big giant loan at a lower interest rate, and then I'm going to make one payment to that place every month at a lower interest rate. I'm going to save some interest maybe at the end, so that $100,000 in debt might cost me $190,000 at the end of 7 years, and instead of $200,000 at the end of 7 years because I'm paying a little less in interest, but it's still long-term payoff. That's consolidation. And there's 2 videos on the 6 ways to get out of debt. And then I go through all the fears of debt settlement, some of which we talked about today, your credit card and the fear of being judged by others and the fear of talking to debt collectors. I go into detail about how to overcome all of those fears. There's a whole video on emotions. And for each of these videos, I was charging about $150 for them individually. There's a whole video on accounting and how to save the money that you need to build your debt settlement fund. I go through a couple of different videos on the strategy. Do I pay off one card or multiple cards all at the same time? All the different strategies for it. I take you through the history of banking. I got so fascinated by all of this that I went back to find out, where did credit cards come from? How did this start? Why are there credit card laws that some help us and some don't? Where did bankruptcy laws come through? I'm taking you through the history of banking and credit cards and money and finance and debt and currency and digital currency. I actually take you through, when you want to talk about treating debt like a business, there is still at this moment no law in the United States that limits the amount of interest a bank can charge. Seems like an easy one for the country to say, hey, it's reasonable for a bank to charge not more than X interest. There is no law, which is why those payday loan companies can charge 600% annual interest, sometimes 25% a week interest, because there is no limit nationally. Why is there no limit nationally? Because banks have consistently gone to Congress to make sure that your representatives in Congress don't pass a law that limits how much interest they can charge, because they are treating debt like a business and their goal is to make as much money as possible. I take you through the history of all that and explains why credit cards work the way they do. I take you through what debt collectors will say when they're on the phone with you and how you can negotiate back with them so that you become a skilled negotiator. I talk all about lawsuits and what you need to do if you get sued and how to still settle out your account prior to going to court. I take you through, you saw at the very beginning, my settlement agreements and my one clients there. I take you through settlement agreements and what needs to be in them and how to negotiate those and how to make your payments to protect yourself. And then I even talk about repairing your credit score afterwards and tax implications. I go through all of this. If you were to add up all the videos at their initial prices, it's over a $2,500 in value. Remember, I'm going to give you a package price off of that. I also include my books. I wrote my original book, The Do-It-Yourself Bailout. I wrote another book called The Debt Settlement Easy Business Plan. Those I include in the course. I built this spreadsheet myself. I'm very proud of myself. I really dove in and learned Excel to build this spreadsheet where you enter all of your income, you enter all of your debts, credit cards, all of your other debts, houses, loans, properties, whatever. You enter all of your payments that you're making, and then there's another sheet on there for how you save money. And in the end, when you enter all this information, it actually calculates for you what your debt settlement target fund would be and how long it's going to take you to raise it and what your target amount is going to be and when those two will be equal. And it helps you do the accounting. I include an entire 80-page workbook. There are many exercises within the program, and I include the workbook for free with it to help you go through the exercises. When you add in the workbook and the books and the worksheet, it's over $2,600 in value. But as I said, that's not what you're going to pay today because I'm packaging all of this together. So now I want to talk about what your options are for getting involved with Debt Reduction Made Easy. And you have two options. One option is to just get the course that I just took you through, the video course with the books and the worksheets and the workbook. And the other option is to get all of that and jump on a monthly, once a month mentoring call with me or one of my Debt Reduction Made Easy coaches and other people and participate in the Debt Reduction Made Easy community so that you can ask questions, get answers, share your experiences, hear from others who have been through the experience, hear success stories. And when you get there, share your success stories and help the community succeed in reducing and eliminating credit card debt together. When you only go for the videos, you have lifetime access to the videos. This is not a subscription. I have a private membership area. When you sign up, you're going to get an email that gives you a login. You're going to go into your login membership area. All of the videos are going to be there for you to access, the books, the workbooks. It's all there. It's lifetime access, not for a period of time. The normal value, as I said, $2,647. The package value altogether is $797, and your discount for being here today is still coming on top of that. And when you want to add the mentoring call to that, you get all of that and that one time a month group mentoring call. So that would be the total package for the value. And I do professional coaching. I am a professional executive coach for corporate America. I charge $750 for a 1-hour session. So you get an extra value in there for that 1-hour session. And then that package price is $398 off this. So when you sign up for the coaching today, you get the video course at half price already. So I give you half price off of this for signing up for the coaching. And then you get the coaching in the package price at $197 a month. And this is where your surprise discount comes in. Because you joined me for this today, I'm going to give you another 50% off of all of that. So just because you're here today, the entire Debt Reduction Made Easy video course, the books, the worksheet, the workbook, all the information that Nicole and Jerry and Mark talked about, if you just want to self-guide yourself through the program, is only $398. And if you want to join the monthly mentoring, you'll only pay $198 for all of this. And then it's only $98 a month, $100 per coaching session, which I think is an absolute steal. And then I want to ask you, if you're interested, make sure you copy that right now. Make sure you write down that code, training special 50. I'm going to give you a second to write that down and write down the website, debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started. because when you go to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started, the checkout page, you'll enter your name and your email address, you'll hit submit, it'll take you to a checkout page. You'll see the $797 and $398 plus $197 prices, and then you'll enter training special 50 into the coupon box. And when you hit apply, it's going to reduce it to these prices. Hopefully you've had enough time to write that down. Now I want to ask you, think about your own debt. I gave the $100,000 example, but as an example now, I want to just give a $10,000 example. The debt relief agencies, to qualify for them, you have to have at least $10,000 in debt. It's their minimum amount of debt you need to have to make it worth their time to go call your bank once, get a 50% settlement, and make $2,000 off of you. If you just had the minimum possible debt that a debt relief agency would need you to have to go through their program, and you settled it at 35%, as Debt Reduction Made Easy is saying, is the likely settlement amount, and you saved $6,500 in principal and another $10,000 in future interest that you would pay over the next 6.5 or 7 years to eventually pay $20,000 on your $10,000 in debt. If you were to save $16,500 by using Debt Reduction Made Easy and taking yourself through this process, would that be worth investing $198 right now and $98 a month to learn how? And I say you're going to be successful in 6 to 18 months, even if I rounded it up to 2 years. The most you would pay would be $2,400 and $200, $2,600 to save $16,500 on the very minimum amount of debt that I feel people usually have to feel like they're struggling with it. And then if your debt were more than that, if you have 15,000 in debt or 25 or 50 or 100, and you're looking at saving $30,000, $50,000, $80,000, $100,000 or more, is settling your debt to save 65% of the principal, another 100% in future interest, ending your monthly payments almost immediately, being 100% debt-free in 6 to 18 months. Is that worth investing $198 today and $98 a month to learn how to do it? And as I said a moment ago, if you're in the program for 18 months to 2 years, it's going to cost you at $2,500 roundish, less than 4 or 5 hours of time with a bankruptcy attorney. If you went to a bankruptcy attorney and said, tell me everything you know about debt settlement, there is zero chance that in 4 or 5 hours, that bankruptcy attorney is going to tell you a tenth of everything you're going to get in this video course and through monthly coaching with me. And you'll spend the same amount of money on a bankruptcy attorney in half a day getting a modicum of information compared to going through the program. This method works. It works over and over and over. It worked for me with 8 different US banks, saving well over $250,000. It works with one account or many, whether you're current or delinquent. It works. I have the almost there for any lender because maybe there is some regional bank somewhere that won't do it, but every bank that me or my clients have encountered, single or married, whether you're employed or not, lost your job, lost your business after divorce, interest rate hikes, staggering inflation. I've even had elderly women whose husbands have passed away. They're now widowed, discovered that there's debt that they didn't know about. Works for that. The only time this method doesn't work that I have seen is when people don't do it. When people say, I'm just going to keep paying every month, I'm not going to do this, this won't work. When they say, I'm going to file bankruptcy, I'm not going to try it on my own, trying it on your own won't work. When they say, I'm going to hire an agency to do it for me, doing it on your own won't work. When people get into it and abandon it, that's when it doesn't work. Everybody I've encountered who's gone through the process, it has worked for. And here's something that's very important. Some problems go away on their own. If you fall down and get a cut on your arm, wait a couple weeks, it's going to heal. Whether you put a Band-Aid on it or not, it's going to heal. Whether you put ointment on it or not, it's going to heal. Depending on how deep the cut is, if you get stitches or not, it'll heal. Maybe stitches will make it heal better or not. Most things that we go through can correct themselves, but debt doesn't. Your debt is not going away on its own. You only have a few options. And the options that most people think they have are pay, pray, or run away. Keep making that monthly minimum payment for years, costing me so much money, even though it's making my life a struggle and I'm suffering with the emotions through it. Or pray that something's going to change, some windfall, win the lottery, get a great job, and you're going to be able to pay it off the way you intended. Well, run away, file bankruptcy, give it to a bankruptcy, to a debt relief agency. People think they only have those options. And what I like to say is your debt, if you don't make a choice, the circumstances of your life are going to choose for you. You're likely going to default to the one that seems easiest and quickest, even if it costs you a lot more money and doesn't help you get through the emotions. But when you're ready to put in not just the investment of a few $100s, but the investment of your own time and energy to learn for yourself the tools that will help you. Even if you file bankruptcy, you'll be able to talk to your bankruptcy attorney more. Even if you go through a debt relief agency, you'll be able to understand what they're doing more. And if you choose to put in the time and effort on your own to overcome the negative emotions of debt and use your credit score as a tool that you weren't previously aware of, this method has been proven to work over and over and over, and I am there to help you do it. Ultimately, you're going to save a ton of time. This process took me longer because I went through all the pitfalls and bumps in the dark by myself. You're going to save a ton of money. You're going to save all the mistakes and effort that I put in learning because I'm going to teach them all to you. I am going to shine that light on that dark tunnel for you. So if you're ready to get started, go to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started. You'll put in your name on the first page with your email address. Hit click there so I know where to send your membership login to you. On the second page, you're going to put Training Special 50 into that coupon code box. Click apply. It's going to drop those numbers down for you. You're going to see that 398 one-time price instead of the 797, or that 198 one-time price and 98 a month instead of the 398 one-time price and 197 a month. And as we started off this whole call by saying you have two choices. We always have two choices in life. You can keep doing what you've been doing. I'm not sure what road you've been taking at this time, whether you've stopped paying your credit cards or you're still making your monthly payment, you're talking to a bankruptcy attorney, or maybe you're working with a debt relief agency already and not getting the results that you want. You can keep doing what you've been doing and going down that road. But since you're here with me today, I'm going to assume that whatever road you're on is not fully working for you, or you can try something new. There is no way out of debt through inaction. If you're doing what you're doing and you don't take a different action, you're going to keep doing what you're doing. And the second option is to take control, to invest in yourself, to acquire the knowledge to overcome the emotions of debt and build the confidence that you need to use that knowledge to get yourself out of debt as quickly as possible, save a ton of money, create a new future for you. And then again, I said, everybody, why not try? I really see no downside in going through the path, even if you choose not to later, because you know you can always get back on monthly payments or start paying a bankruptcy attorney. And then people say, what if it doesn't work? Hey, Kenny, great. Thanks so much for the webinar. What if your video course doesn't work? What if I'm spending $398 and I find out that it's a waste of time? I hope that Nicole and Jerry and Mark and all those emails from all of my readers have shown you that this is not a waste of time. But even if you're still thinking that, I offer a 14-day money-back guarantee. If you buy the video course today, take 14 days, watch it. And if you watch it and you go, you know what? This just isn't for me. I don't want to do this. I'm going to file bankruptcy. I want my $398 back. You send me an email at support@thedoityourselfbailout.com and I will refund your purchase price. So the why not try, I might waste my money on the video course doesn't apply because I'm offering the money back guarantee. And let's say you're interested in doing the monthly mentoring. What if I do the monthly mentoring and it still doesn't work and I get 2 years down the road and I'm still not out of debt? I make this guarantee that if you sign up for the monthly mentoring and you attend for 2 years, which your total investment at that point would be $2,400 plus $200 for the video course, $2,600, I guarantee you that during that time, one of your banks will offer you, at the very least, what a debt settlement agency is telling you they can get for you. So you will definitely get a 50% offer from one of your banks in the time that you work with me. And even if your debt is only $10,000, you're looking at saving $6,500 in principal and $10,000 in interest. I'm guaranteeing you, you will save at a minimum that for your $2,400, $2,600 investment, or I will let you continue in the coaching course for free for as long as it takes you to get that offer to make sure that your investment pays off. And the agency, even though they're offering you the 50% offer, they're still going to charge their 20% fee on your total debt, which means it's going to cost you more than that anyway. And I'm saying you're going to get more than a 50% offer. You're going to get probably 60, 65%. But without getting into that nitty-gritty, I guarantee you will, at the very least, get a settlement amount that will make your investment pay off fivefold, or I'll keep working with you for free until you do. So between those, between the 14-day money-back guarantee for the video course and the I'll work with you for free until you save more money than you've paid me guarantee for the coaching, I really believe you've got nothing to lose except your credit card debt. And by the way, I'll throw in here, no one has ever asked for their money back because everybody has always gotten the results. All of my clients who have gone through this process, except those who, like I said, the only time it doesn't work is when they don't do it. The ones who have quit, everybody has succeeded going through this so far, as long as they stay with the process and do it. So, clip from one of my favorite movies. Help me help you. Help me help you. Let me take you through the information that will help you get out of debt as quickly as possible and save so much
I'm
money.
really grateful for you, Ken, and I really am. You've been my guide through this process, and at first it was scary, but just having your voice in my head while I'm in these calls is priceless. It really just truly is. And I will tell you that it's worth every single penny. And, you know, because you're doing debt settlement, you can't charge a really large thing because you're getting people out of debt. And it feels like a bit of a labor of love. And it is. And I'm very grateful for it.
So I said at the beginning, thank you so much for coming, that this will help anybody struggling with credit card debt, anyone looking for the fastest, cheapest way to get out of debt. And that if you're not sure, stay, listen, learn, and see, and that I would give you a gift. So if you know this is not for you after this hour and 15 minutes we've spent with each other, I thank you for your time. Please go back to the road that you're currently on. I wish you the best of success in it. And to help you along whatever road you choose to go down a little bit, if you go to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/free DRME spreadsheet. I'll give you a second to make a screenshot of that or write it down. debtreductionmadeeasy.com/free DRME spreadsheet. I will give you the debt reduction spreadsheet for free, and you can download it and use it for your accounting and calculate your settlement target amount and how to build your settlement fund and all of that. This is included in the course. You don't need to go get this free gift if you're getting the course because it's included. But if you know this isn't for you, please go get that free gift with my compliments, and I wish you the very best in your debt settlement journey. And if you know this is for you, if you are ready to treat debt like a business and let go of the painful emotions of debt and take control of your financial life, then go now to debtreductionmadeeasy.com/get started. Put in your name and your email so I know where to send your login information. Enter that training special 50 code there at checkout. You'll see the prices reduced to $198 for the full video course and the books and the spreadsheet and all of that, or $198 for the video course and the books and the spreadsheet, and $98 a month. Your initial charge will be just under $300 and $98 a month. And when you get your welcome email, the email will have your login information to the membership site, and the membership site will have all of your courses and everything in it. And you'll see a coaching one there, and that will have all of your information on where and when to come to the coaching courses